Friday, 29 January, 65. My dearest Suzie, I received your letter tonight and I was glad to get it. I know that these are very lonesome times for you, but for what little consolation it is to you, I assure you that you and the boys are on my mind constantly. I don't think there is anything that we can do about that last Christmas present. It really hurts me because I could really use it, but we had an illegal setup on getting our mail up at Da Nang. If it had gone through normal channels, it would have taken us 2 more weeks to get it. So we had a pilot pick it up here and take it up for us. When he got up there, he had to put it in an unlocked box for us. So I'm sure that if someone took it, they took it out of that box. The pilot who took our mail up is a good guy, and he was just doing what we asked him to do. So if I said or did anything about a missing package, he is the one guy who would be in trouble. So I'm sorry that you lost the money, but I know that the thought was there, and that is what counts. This picture that is enclosed was made about 15 minutes ago. We are in the middle of a platoon party. We have a new platoon leader now, and this is his way of getting acquainted. So, we are having steaks and beer tonight. That guy in my lap is Charlie, in case you hadn't noticed. This has really been a week for us. We have had a troop lift every day. I have been subjected to enemy fire 37 times this week, and tomorrow we have at least 2 more lifts. All the action that I was worried about coming is here, I'm afraid. Oh well. Just look at how fast the time passes for me. Yesterday afternoon, I hauled about 17 wounded people out of an area that had been mortared by the VC. One of them was a woman, about 23 or 24 years old, with a baby, about 8 months old. She was alive when we landed at the Vietnamese hospital. The baby wasn't. They had both been hit by mortar fragments. Last night, I didn't drink a drop, but you can understand why tonight I have decided to get drunk on my blank. Enough of that bad news. I'm fine. The only thing that has been damaged for me so far are my feelings. I love you all very much. Naturally, if I love you, I have to think of every young woman and every kid that is hurt in this miserable place, and it makes me sick. I'll quit. I will try to write sooner next time. All my love. Bill. Today's letter from Popi comes at the end of an emotionally and physically grueling week. It's a deeply personal letter, filled with reflections on his family, camaraderie, and the devastating realities of war. Popi is writing during a rare moment of respite, a platoon party meant to welcome their new leader, but the letter is anything but carefree. He begins by addressing the missing Christmas package, a small but meaningful loss. The informal system of transporting mail in Vietnam meant that the soldiers had to rely on creative but unreliable methods to get their letters and packages. In this case, Popi and his unit asked a pilot to fly their mail from Vinh Long to Da Nang, but the mail was left in an unlocked box, where it likely disappeared. Despite the loss, Popi's letter shows his understanding of the situation. He refuses to place blame on the pilot, a good guy who was just trying to help. Instead, he reassures Suzie that the thought behind the gift mattered more than the gift itself. The letter quickly shifts to the challenges of the week. Popi writes that he's been under fire 37 times in just 7 days, a staggering figure that underscores the relentless danger he faced. Among the most harrowing moments was evacuating wounded civilians from a village that had been mortared by the Viet Cong. Popi describes one rescue that will stay with him forever. A young woman, likely in her early 20s, and her baby, only 8 months old. The woman survived, but the baby didn't. Popi's words are filled with anguish as he admits that the emotional weight of these moments is overwhelming. That evening, he made the decision to drink during the platoon party, not to celebrate, but to momentarily escape the pain. Was he thinking of his wife and infant back at home? He said he was. Brett, after all, we know, was teething. He wasn't much older than the baby that didn't survive the helicopter ride. Who did Popi blame for the baby's death? The mom? The VC? His fellow American soldiers? Was there anyone to blame? Amid all the chaos, Popi's love for his family remains a steady anchor. He reassures Suzie that she and the boys are always on his mind, even in his darkest moments. But that same love makes the suffering he sees all the more unbearable. He writes about how every young woman and child he encounters reminds him of his own family, making the violence and loss even harder to process. His compassion shines through even as he grapples with the horrors of war. Here, we've seen another example of the senseless violence he witnessed during the war, and he's only a third of the way through his deployment. As I've alluded to before, when he got back to the States, he wasn't a great person. I can't imagine just how much of these scenes grind down his very soul, damaging his spirit and throwing him into a despair that he can only cover up with alcohol. It's a pain so deep that he transfers it onto his kids, some of whom then later have the same problem. Popi ends the letter by apologizing for the delay in writing and promising to do better, despite the circumstances. It's a poignant reminder of his commitment to staying connected with Suzie and the boys no matter how difficult things become, almost as if it was his duty to continue to share his pain with his wife. His resilience is evident, not just in his ability to carry on, but in his determination to share his thoughts and feelings with the family he holds so dear. The photo I chose for today depicts a mother with her baby. It was taken at the Bangkok Zoo. The baby is holding up a treat. This was taken weeks after this letter was written. When he saw his mother and her child, did he think about the two he mentioned in the letter? Was he happy to see a baby smiling and happy to be at the zoo? Did he ever see the dead child in his nightmares, even when he was in his 60s, sleeping in his own room away from Meemaw? I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.